10 years ago, something that had never happened before happened in the skies over Tokyo. The inverted castle, which seems like an extraterrestrial, suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Not long after it appeared, a number of dungeons started to appear in different parts of Japan, transforming the world forever. A strange event happened that gave mana to the humans and brought their powers back to life. They were called the Talented, and they might practice their art until they became magicians who could fight in dungeons and rise to fame. The odd thing about a mage's talent is that you could tell how good they were by the strange color of mana that came out of their bodies. In this example, each mage had a different color that showed out their skills, but sometimes, mutations like the dual-color wielders do happen in real life. This is true for the main character's younger brother, who has an outfit that I want to steal. Kurosaki Kai can use both blue and red mana, which makes him a dual-color wielder. Kai feels sure he can face a scary monster. The creature lunges at the human to rip him apart, starting the fight. But Kai, who is very talented, has no issue using his power to cast a demonic lance blow. This spear, which is full of his energy, easily goes through the monster's skin and kills it in one blow. Kai walks up to get the monster's stone once it has been defeated. But his brother looks away. Despite being the younger brother, Kai treats his older brother like dog shit and tosses the stone to his head, reminding him to gather up whatever resources are spread. At this point, Kai had already achieved level, which is fairly far up, giving him the title of the Purple King and confirming his status as one of the strongest mages to exist. Unfortunately, the contrary is the case for his terrible little brother, who is our charming protagonist with absolutely no qualities or skills at his disposal. You guys remember how dual-color wielding is a rarity in this world? Well, our boy likewise got a rare, but on the opposing end of the spectrum. He received the rare of being colorless and bereft of powers, introducing Kurosaki Rei, the level loser. Now Rei is shown to be a persistent individual, since despite not having access to any powers, Bro is determined to become a magician, regardless. It's mainly why he works as a porter for now, the purpose being to collect resources for his brother's party, who took pity on Rei and tagged him along. All this time, Rei has been embarking on these perilous adventures and wearing himself down in the hopes that someday, just one day, a miracle may occur and unlock some of his powers. Having foolishly dedicated his dreams to that little hope, he still continues to travel with them today. Now, let's talk about the present status of the party. They've just arrived at the boss's chamber, but given the way things have been going so far, Kai's lackeys figure that this is going to be easy too. The gigantic entrance is open to enable them inside, as Kai's party wanders in the dark room while inspecting their surroundings. Suddenly, they see a man confronting them in the distance. Strangely enough, this figure appears fairly human in its physical aspect. But hold on to your horses, for things are about to get crazy with the god of time and space. Kronos glances at them with a bored expression, while Kai thinks this guy is simply another fodder in his path. Making everything to go like cakewalk as previous time, he infuses his energy in many spears and sends the projectiles blitzing at the Kronos. In response, the god of time and space nonchalantly pulls out his spatial blade and makes a mockery out of the onslaught by swiping down the spears. Bro is literally mewing with that 1,000-yard gaze because he is not impressed. Kai, on the other hand, is in a chokehold, not knowing what to do. In a terrible, horrible twist, Kronos locks down Kai as a target before impaling his thick skull with his strike. Now that is the definition of frigid, because I was kinda expecting this person to make it to the end, like all annoying rival characters too. Witnessing his dead body slump to the ground, Kai's comrades are dumbfounded, while Rei doesn't even have a chance to realize what's taking place before his eyes. Hesitant to trust what just happened, Rei questions his own senses, reluctant to comprehend that the Purple King and one of the strongest magicians in the universe was taken out with a single attack. Recognizing the deity before them as a monster of destruction, Kai's underlings swiftly tried leaving, which is a logical option, but there's no sense because Kronos murders them ruthlessly in a fraction of a second. Despair overwhelms our child as he sinks to the ground in defeat. The hitherto silent god then utters his first words, happy to have found a colorless human among the throng. Refusing to accept defeat, Rei musters all of his confidence in a single moment. He's gone through so much stuff in his life that he wasn't going to let it all stop now before attaining his ambitions. With that conviction, though his body quivers to simply stand, the colorless lad points his pointed weapon toward the inexorable god. Now that is the definition of bravery, respect acquired. Kronos is very amused that a colorless thing is actually daring to face him when the rest of his comrades perish to horrific death. Though his body is shaking, our youngster is not ready to surrender his life. In reaction to the child's bravery, the god of time and space decides that he'll test the kid's willpower. And well, maybe you guys were anticipating an easy, Here you go, a new power-up. But nah, what happens instead is that Rei practically receives the Toji treatment from Jujutsu Kaisen. His body ruptures a chunk of itself from the side, making him scream in anguish. Kronos doesn't even care, and thinks that maybe he went a little too hard on that one. Using his influence over time, he reverts back our boy's status to its healed self, much to Rei's shock. It's time for part 2 of this horrific trial. This time, Kronos releases unfathomable flames of, and surrounds the boy in an arena of the hellfire flames of despair. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, that assault title is badass. The deity is truly intrigued what this weak little human will do in reaction to such a trap. Of all, even as feeble as he is, Rei knows that ordinary assaults won't cut anything like this. But perhaps if he used the same sword that Kronos used to murder his brother. So, Rei quickly goes and uses the blade to cut past the flames of despair with a forward lunge. Of course, even after being armed with a strong weapon, his weak body gets terrible burns all over, making him howl in misery. Witnessing the boy's persistent stride, the god of time and space is really amused, but his amused look transforms to full horror when he perceives a weapon piercing his chest. That's right, our son officially landed a clean hit on a fucking god. But, despite this endeavor, Kronos gives out a wicked smirk as he rewinds time again, sending the boy back to his beginning position. Kronos remarks that he's impressed by the boy's outstanding effort. However, Rei calmly accepts defeat and shrinks on the floor, realizing it was over from the start. The thoughts of death and misery start creeping up inside his consciousness, filling it with an emptiness of black. Unbeknownst to his greatest dreams, a system screen welcomes him, proclaiming that the god of time and space presence had unleashed Rei's seal on his dark skill. This actually comes as a shock to Kronos himself, who doesn't grasp what's going on. Our child goes on to formally receive his first talent and skill drain, stealing Kronos' ability to rewind time. Rei is stupefied by what he's witnessing on the system screen, while Kronos, a genuine god, is breaking a sweat. At once, the boy launches the first activation of his rewind power, but this time, he's not going back a few moments in time. In fact, his aggressive maneuver right now is so outrageous that it even freaks off Kronos. The technology kicks into overdrive and gives a full regression, turning the wheels of time back several years. Opening his eyes again, our lad discovers that though he employed the rewind capability, he himself doesn't even sure what the fudge happened. Staring at the reflection in the mirror, he realizes that he is staring at a younger version of himself. Now, I don't know about you guys, but robbing a skill from a genuine deity signals to me that this story is going to be really damn excellent. Let's also rewind time for ourselves for a few moments. When Rei casted the ability, a mysterious warrior told him that he isn't powerful enough to bring down the god of time and space with his own powers. That is the main reason he entrusted this talent with Rei, knowing that it should be capable of eventually conquering Kronos in the end. Back to the present, or better rather the past. Our youngster is pondering if this is some type of dream or not, but when he glances out the window, he sees the inversed castle, keeping its white tint. Even though the castle was black yesterday, and was last viewed as pure white 7 years ago, it stained and eventually became a full black. Then and only then did its door open, and venturing within the castle, they encountered the god of time and space. Things start falling into bits, as Rei recalls the usage of his rewinding ability thanks to skill depletion. Checking his phone just to confirm, Bro realizes he actually did make it 7 years into the past. Popping open his skill window, he learns from the system that he has access to skill drain, but the rewinding ability is gone. But our youngster couldn't give a damn about that, since finally, just finally, he had gained a gift for himself. His efforts of being unable to build a skill for a decade straight were depressing enough. Thanks to this new skill, he can open new doors and do things he could only dream about. Checking his phone, Rei immediately realizes that today is supposed to be the day of the Mage exam. The scene cuts to the Kyoto Ward, which is formally called the Mage Association headquarters. It's the only governmental body responsible for supervising and monitoring the operations of beings known as the Mages, and aiding them take on dungeon conquests. Arriving inside the building, Rei notes how it looks brand new, which only makes sense, because to his time regression. Suddenly Goto and Oike, the same fellas who are Kai's lackeys, bully him for being a colorless loser who's here for no purpose. Even Rei recalls these clowns since he was a part of their celebration. Goto and Oike are pretty invasive of our boy's space and ponder the prospect that their lovely colorless fellow over here is going to partake in the exam. They say it's meaningless to take such an exam when you have no skill. And though he hates to acknowledge it, Rei knows that they're right. It's not like this is his first ever rodeo. In fact, our child actually retook the Mage exam more than anyone trying to earn a passing grade. But in the end, all he got was failure upon failure. Swatting his hand away, Rei departs the discussion, stunning the clowns that he's grown a bit of a spine out of nowhere. Now let's focus our attention to the exam proctor for the mage exam. She's actually a B-rank wizard called Hinata. And well, let's just say she isn't the happiest to see our boy popping up before her again. Hinata reminds the fellow that he's going to get himself murdered if he keeps this up, but Rei is eager to give it another chance. Shortly afterwards, he's transported to the exam place. Hinata doesn't want to take the effort of explaining all the intricacies to this guy, since he knows them already. Rei prepares himself. His mission is to truly gather 3 magic stones from the goblins inside the dungeon. That's the only completion requirement. And for anyone with a simple skill, this is the easiest task. Normally, that is, because today is notoriously special for giving an exam when a horrific tragedy occurred. A frightening monster beyond the levels of this dungeon arrived from out of nowhere. The red cap represents a level monster, and well, bro is out here aura farming despite being a miniature goblin. He approaches them menacingly while the proctor is startled that a creature like this emerged. She marches forth to become the decoy, all the while telling our child to run for his life. However, even Rei recognizes that she can't beat the red cap, especially since their level discrepancies are way too large. Now, in the original storyline, Hinata was unable to beat this guy and ultimately ended up getting terribly injured. She did her best to delay their doom and shielded Rei till the very end. But still, the girl kept getting pounded and sustained injuries that led to her retirement. All thanks to Rei's uselessness, his incompetence, and his frailty. Did I just call him the same thing 3 different times? Yes, I did. Anyway, the red cap is solely responsible for terminating her career. Literally speaking. So this time, Gojo's nephew over here doesn't want to let it happen. Bro is resolute to stand his ground, facing the threat lunging towards him. In a swift motion, Rei tosses his sword at the creature, noting how the red cap is notorious for possessing a skill that improves its physical stats, so much so that ordinary assaults are useless. However, our lad is an anomaly, for when weapons don't work, he takes the war to his fists, rated E for everyone. Rei's hit simply irritates off the goblin even more, as if the thing is disgusted by his mere arrogance of even trying. The red cap seeks to finish him off with its next attack, but suddenly, something happens. The system screen displays that Rei has successfully taken the body enhancement talent from the monster, increasing his own physical numbers greatly. With this, Rei effortlessly performs a clean vertical slash, cutting the goblin like a fruit with his blade. Hinata is completely amazed that this weak-ass dude defeated the red cap in a single hit. Internalizing his views on skill depletion, Rei realizes that he struck gold with his new power. As for Hinata, she's got a bucket of questions and well, our kid is in a pinch because he doesn't know what to respond. Clearly he can't just blurt out that he's got a black skill. Bro's only justification in this circumstance is that it was a casual coincidence. He's sweating bullets, and Hinata's not going to fall for the gaslighting. Apart from that, she wishes to cancel the exam due of the unforeseen monster. Also, the occurrence will be noted and reported to their headquarters. As for Rei, he recalls that even a regular shouldn't be showing anytime soon, but he still requires the 2 more monastones to complete the exam. But of course, the proctor isn't going to allow him to have it, due to the dangers involved. Suddenly, 2 more goblins jump from out of the shadows, immediately aiming to attack them. But no worries, Rei makes light work of them by cutting them in a single hit, and even impressing Hinata. With all 3 monastones obtained, he satisfies the qualification for his purpose, while the proctor is silent. The scene moves to the entryway of the Mage Association's headquarters. Here, Hinata delivers in his official magician license. Seeing the card having his qualifications on it at last, Rei experiences a catharsis. It makes sense, because for many years he dragged himself simply to clear the exam. All this time he persevered to become a mage, a porter who was never valued and always trampled upon. But with this card, he is officially a mage now. What's more, she offers him the facts regarding the exchange rate of the acquired mana stones. These stones are noted for having a value drop from the monsters after their defeat. They're employed as an energy source and can even be traded for money. Thanks to his beating an A-rank monster, Rei is having the time of his life staring at his balance sheet. Bro literally received 3 fudging million for beating the monster, which shocks him significantly. The dude understands just how easy it is for wizards to have a wonderful life. Even the proctor is cheering for his achievements, which is how you know she's a real homegirl. He chooses to ask Hinata for a final request, which is disclosed to us in the next scene. Standing before the odd-looking gate, Rei takes a second to examine his name and status. Before, he couldn't access any dungeons on his own. But with this advancement, he thinks he's finally got an opportunity to change the path of the future. Unexpectedly, someone casts their mana hand ability, which creates a large astral hand and entraps our lad in place. Turns out, it's actually Kai's lackeys from before, and the goons are making fun of him for trying to enter a dungeon on his own and infringing the regulations. Ray surprises them by disclosing that he passed the Mage exam, which is why he's qualified to do that now. But this fact is so absurdly preposterous to their ears that they think he's lying. Grabbing his head, the clown implores our youngster to show off his talent. Let's break into the mana hand ability for a second. It's actually a compression of mana manipulated into a physical form or shape. This is the reason why Ray is trying to break free of its clutches, even with his augmentation skill. But it just goes for his hands. Since his legs are unbound, the dude physically launches himself with super speed and bashes the guy's nose with his head, creating an immediate nosebleed. And with this, Ray successfully snatches the ability and frees himself as well. Mimicking his opponent, Ray unleashes his version of Mana Hand, restraining the clown in the same way he did. They can't believe that he was able to awaken his own talent. But as Ray is engaged dealing one of them, the other man swoops in with his basic-ass fireball strike. To counter this assault, Ray utilizes his extreme body enhancement skill, generating a dazzling golden aura as he swipes away the fireball. His opponent is unable to grasp what's going on when all of a sudden our lad deals out a punch right out of Dragon Ball Z and launches the dude into the wall. They can't believe that this guy has more than just one skill, to the point they're suspecting him to be a dual color wielder. But Ray amusingly refuses them and generates a fireball in his fist. Thanks to his interaction with his opponent, he's able to successfully steal the skill. Unleashing the swirling ball of red, Ray corrects them by proclaiming that he's got another hue on top of that. You can already see that his opponents are shitting bricks right now at the discovery of his new skills. Top it off, no one has heard of a tricolor user before. Ray doesn't give in to their banter and answers by flinging the fireball next to the guy. Not only that, but also releases the other dude from his cuffs, questioning if they still want to screw about. The two fools glance at each other, and recognizing that this is their only chance, they run for their life like the pitiful douchebags they are. The main issue is actually Ray's brother, because if the Purple King ends up learning what occurred, it's going to get a lot uglier. In the future, he's always been a lapdog serving Kai's every order. If word comes out that Ray awakened his new powers, Kai will undoubtedly come to hunt him down, and considering he's already level right now, he's still one of the strongest mages around. Besides his brother, there were lots of things he needed to think about. For example, there was going to be a dungeon unlocking soon enough. Right now, all that mattered to him was boosting his level to the point he could truly maintain his ground. That's why Ray is single diving in a dungeon to raise his level. It's the only way he's going to obtain better skills and grow his mana pool to activate them. Walking contemplatively, Male's shocked when a startling monster sparks into existence. This scarecrow-looking creature is actually a flame wizard, standing at a level 1 level higher than the red cap he fights. Since he's only got enough mana to make one fireball right now, that's what he does in his left hand. The flame wizard is a different circumstance, however, as he can readily channel the usage of several fireballs. This weakness and gap in skill is actually created by the disparity in levels. The fireballs are sent right towards our child, who launches his own to oppose them. Unfortunately for him though, his strike only counters one of his opponent's fireballs, while the rest of them still require evading. So he does, regaining his ground and calculating that this fight can't be won in a head-on collision. But matter the circumstances, one thing is certain. No matter the level of his opponent, there's always an opportunity that can be exploited. So Ray takes full advantage of that, and closes down on the wizard, who knows he's about to have his ass beat. With only a 2-second stopwatch at his disposal, Ray demolishes the fire wizard with a Mike Tyson knockdown. Upon first touch, he quickly steals the fireball talent from his opponent, which is also the only means of the wizard's assault. The monster tries to assault him again, indicating its weapon to cast the spell. But this battle's already finished, with Ray having taken the skill, allowing him to activate it around the wizard, engulfing the monster in a cyclone of flames. And with that, the fire wizard is defeated. Shortly after its defeat, our boy levels up 4 times in a row after slaying a high-level monster. It simply makes sense to him that the stronger monsters guarantee greater experience points, and though generally it's rather tough to cope with these men, talent drain is a guaranteed technique of beating them with ease. We also receive a reveal on his present level. Ray rose from level 2 with this one encounter. Preparing himself for his tough mission ahead, he plans to climb to level at the very least in this dungeon. And so it begins as our guy takes down another fire wizard and a red cap, as well as a lizard warrior. After a set amount of time, he accumulated enough levels to climb all the way up to, but of course, it's getting harder to level up at the same exponential speed. That means, in order to attain level, he has to hunt increasingly stronger monsters to slay. So that's what he does by trekking towards the darkest area of the dungeon, the boss room. Standing before it, Ray reflects that this is all he'll need to complete his aim of going to level. The boy reaches for the door and enters inside, It's an empty arena, and in the distance, a warrior is making his way to him out of the darkness. Donning a green aura, this monster is dubbed the Skull Demon, and he's even got high-level imps as his underlings. Ray senses the threat, because now he's fighting multiple high-level opponents in a direct fight. His only chance of triumph is stealing their skills. Using bodily enhancement at full scale, our boy blitzes towards the boss monster. He pulls back his fist to prepare a hard strike and releases it. But to his horror, the Skull Demon doesn't even move. In reality, the attack doesn't even contact him since it is stopped by some kind of barrier. This warns the wizard as he draws back and gathers his distance, spotting the hexagonal shield protecting the boss monster. It's just like he suspected. Getting through the mana barrier is a problem, and because of that, he won't be able to employ skill drain, which means the Skull Demon is a tough battle for him. The demonic creature lets forth a battle cry before quickly rushing towards its human victim. Our boy is scared by its amazing speed as the creature's assault misses him by an inch. Realizing that he's in a bad place, Ray decides he should let go with his last resort. In order to defeat that robust mana barrier, he's gonna need to utilize a different technique. That's where the flying imps come in, because while our boy doesn't have enough strength on his own, he can accomplish something else. So Ray runs to target one of the flying imps, hitting it with a solid swing, since like I said, his hands are rated E for everyone, even if you're a gigantic bat. This kicks on his talent drain ability, snatching the ice needle from them. Next on, our boy follows through with a fireball blow, demolishing the imp with his abilities. With one of them converted into a burnt french fry, he notices the other, and utilizes his newest power, Ice Needle, to impale the second imp, sending it down quickly. Now that the distractions are removed from the battlefield, Ray concentrates his attention on the Skull Demon, who casually resummons the imp with his summoning magic. You might be questioning if he squandered his time just now, but that's not the case at all. This ability is actually to his benefit, for this is exactly what Ray is seeking for as he plugs into his augmented state again. Slashing apart another imp, he obtains level, affording himself a chance to gather experience points. With the quick level boost, the system tells him of his qualifications to activate skill. This was Ray's intention all along. Let's move back to the Roaring Skull Demon, who observes Ray employing the Ice Needle and the Fireball skills to take advantage. With simultaneous casting, he activates the synthesis process, melding the two skills into a unique concoction. Armed with this new talent, our boy dashes forth to strike down the monster with an aerial attack. Like last time, the Skull Demon activates his mana barrier to shield itself against the devastating Firelance attack. The strike hits with the shield, but it is beyond what the shield can handle, causing it to crack and eventually break apart to bits. And that's how Ray broke the mana barrier and obtained it for himself. But the fight isn't over, as he unleashes his enhancement power again to assault the Skull Demon. Having used his talent drain ability on the boss monster, he's removed its defenses. While the Skull Demon is still healing from the previous attack, this dude takes out a second fire lance and impales it into the monster's chest. In its final moments, the creature flames a scarlet inferno of red, devoured whole by the onslaught. After the boss monster's defeat, it drops a green mana stone. Apart from that, Ray's personal development comes in the form of level ups in a row, which is remarkable since he's now level by the end of a single combat. Having successfully defeated the creature and penetrated its powerful protection, our boy takes a second to take a breath. As for the mechanism of talent synthesis he utilized previously, let's take a few moments to explore how it works. As the name says, it leverages individual skills and combines them to build new and more sophisticated skills. Ray was certain he'd be able to tackle the technique very soon. That's why he placed his entire scheme on skill synthesis. It's a good thing that things worked out for him, because that boss battle was looking difficult at the beginning. Suddenly, the system screen flashes out a fresh notification for our lad, informing that he satisfies the level requirements to truly increase his skill drain ability. Before, he could only obtain and hold talents in his armory at one time. But since he's leveled up, he can now store up to, which is a great convenient thing for him, as he has a lot of things to play with. The scene switches to the headquarters, where our lad has brought the Mana Stone of the Skull Demon for an exchange. Witnessing its sight, Hinata is amazed that he was able to take down a high-level boss monster like that on his own. Not to mention that this same guy is now level all in the span of about a day's difference. Like last time, Ray's lousy with his excuses and simply tries to play it off that some luck was involved. But that's about being as lucky as finding $1 billion beneath your bed. Even Hinata's like, dude, stop the cap. It's just impossible to farm so many experience points in one day. She also offers him the good news. Since he's crossed level, he's qualified to truly be rated as a B-rank mage without any constraints binding him down. Well, the chat was going smoothly, if not for the fact that a familiar voice arrived from behind. Rei's entire body froze when he heard his brother's cocky talk enter his ears. Kai refuses to believe that this loser brother of his is a true B rank, assuming that it must be some kind of fluke or a mistake by the proctors. Just being around Kai's presence, our kid is sweating bullets because he really wanted to avoid running into him till considerably later. Hinata is similarly astonished to see him. While the Purple King talks off how his lousy brother can't even perform a single talent, even if his life depended on it. That is what it meant to be a colorless person after all. So the fact that this identical individual ended up a B rank is absolutely ludicrous in front of Kai. Anyway, Hinata, being the OG backer of our boy from day one, actually supports Rei and defends him, noting that he defeated both the Red Pap and the Skull Demon all on his own. This information causes Kai to instantly turn his attention to Rei with a doubtful and serious face. Channeling his purple aura, he doubts if his little brother really is so capable now. Even more, this crazed bastard powers up an augmented punch and literally attacks our boy on the spot. The sheer power of the punch is enough to rock the room. When the dust is settled, we see the aftermath. Kai's punch couldn't reach Rei, but it did damage a chunk of his mana barrier. In return, the confident Rei casts a scowl at his brother and calls out his dangerous approach. Seeing the two set to throw down in a venue like this has the proctor on edge. The Purple King finds that his brother has finally awoken his powers, much to his amazement. The rumors all ended up being accurate, to which Rei accepts and confirms. Pulling back his punch, Kai argues that despite him having acquired a skill won't make a difference, and that he shouldn't grow confidence based off of it. After all, he's going to be Rei's final test, practically declaring himself an enemy of his own brother. From the looks of it, Hinata is genuinely frightened that this guy is preparing to conduct another attack, right inside the headquarters too. But happily, as insane as this purple hair clown is, he doesn't go that far. Instead, Kai claims that he won't have any trouble facing his brother even if he were a true B-rank magician. Also, he goes on to accuse our child of having cheated his way up to where he's at today, assuming that there must be some form of deceit involved. But this is only a provocation, so that Rei can accept his challenge of fighting him in a contest. Our son knows that if he resists his sibling here, it's going to get even more hectic for him down the line. That's why, despite their disparity in levels, he meets his eyes with resolve and accepts Kai's challenge, something that his brother didn't expect at all, so much so that it upsets the Purple King. Anyway, the scene cuts to the arena of the Mage Association headquarters, a more natural venue for their clash. Standing against his powerful opponent, Rei organizes his thoughts, knowing that one smart strategy to combat someone stronger than you is to always be mindful of the resources at your disposal. For example, the mana differential plays a big impact, which is why he can't risk losing his guard in this fight, even for a second. The trouble is, he's only level, so at best, he has the mana resources to activate 3 skills at the same time. But Kai? That guy is level, and his combo capacity might range up to 5 skills, giving him a natural edge in their fight. That is, this duel can't be a head-on confrontation, because Rei literally cannot overcome his brother's mana pool without draining his own first. Hence, his approach is to attempt and close their gap with something else. The combat begins right away with our guy shooting his first strike in the form of ice needles. Meanwhile, Kai is undeterred and creates 4 fireballs on his side. Both attacks are thrown against each other, and the moment the ice needles clash with the fireballs, the outcome is an explosion. Now, I was actually anticipating Kai to win in this duel, but it's surprising even to him that Rei is already on the offensive. Thanks to his body enhancement skill, he quickly shortened the gap between the two, seeking to overpower his opponent in close quarters battle. This shocks Kai considerably, because it reveals to him that his brother is also a dual color wielding now. The interesting element is that Rei's lunge here is a deliberate approach. He realizes that because Kai has depleted his mana in 4 fireballs, he should only have around 1 more skill usage left. So not only does Rei use bodily augmentation, he doubles down by activating Fire Lance as well. That's 3 skills engaged in the same time, practically guaranteeing his victory if the strike hits his opponent. Now Kai is startled to see that his brother commands not just 2, but 3 skills at the same time. But instead of despairing, a smirk is engraved on his face, as if it doesn't matter at all. Kai activates Fireball exactly when his opponent gets in his face. Here's the portion that not even Rei can fathom. That single fireball at the end was able to match his Fire Lance and even overpower it, which should be impossible. The arrogant Kai suddenly sees why his brother is so confident in this match. It's because he's a tricolored user who assumed this was going to be easy for him. But the distinction is clear. Their levels are far too distinct from each other. And now it's his turn to overpower Rei, so he shoots a bunch of fireballs at him. Using those fireballs, Rei bolts away as fast as he can, and from a distance, retaliates with another usage of his Fire Lance attack. I have to admit, Even if the tale is simple, I adore the art style being used to depict different powers. Anyway, the Purple King isn't the least bit intimidated, and merely counters the strike with his fireball talent again. That single fireball annihilates Rei's fire lance, and has enough energy to make its way to him. Thankfully, Rei uses his mana barrier to repel the strike. But here's the twist. Not even his mana barrier is enough to hold its ground against Kai's straightforward deployment of fireball. It shatters the shield upon impact, and sends Rei flying back from shock. From the looks of this fight, his brother is continually dominating him without even making any effort. Rei is in a big jam because all his skills have proven ineffective so far. Seeing that his win is practically certain, Kai offers his brother a chance to be forgiven. All he wants is for Rei to embarrass himself by kneeling down in front of him and accept that he was wrong for taking him head-on in a battle. Internalizing his frustration, Rei realizes that his situation is challenging because he can't do anything about his skills or his mana pool. The sad thought of relinquishing the struggle embraces his body, but then he remembers the life he previously endured 10 years into the future. He was nothing more than a slave to his crazy-ass brother. That alone feeds him with the motivation to continue the conflict and stand his ground. So he roars his reluctance to meet Kai's requests. Hearing that, the Purple King becomes infuriated. The same colorless and painfully weak brother was now standing up against him. Deciding to go all out, Kai launches his overclock method, boosting his fireball talent to unfathomable levels at the risk of wasting his mana. Arming the fireball in his hand, Kai exhibits the full power of a king. 10 fireballs all appear encircling him, allowing him to overpower any opponent in his path. Spotting the skill, Rei recognizes that this same strength is the same reason his brother is one of the strongest magicians in the world. Compared to previous monarchs, he has the power to expend a ton of mana at a single point as his specific talent. However, while standing in the face of loss, Rei explains that he was waiting for him to trigger that skill. Rei's startling announcement is followed by his confident forward propulsion. He's racing to the very danger that most magicians would run away from. Now the obvious fact about the 10-hit fireball attack is that it requires the use of the overclock technique. But there's a catch. Rei jumps into the air, making Kai call him an idiot for positioning himself in the worst way possible. It's at this point that Kai unleashes his torrent of fireballs and sends it hurtling his direction. It's exactly what our boy had been anticipating, as he commands the use of his mana hand, the ability that he conveniently kept hidden from his opponent until now. The mana hand truly smashes the earth, stunning Kai by the revelation of his sibling being able to activate 4 talents. As for Rei, he believes that it doesn't matter if it's 10 fireballs or 20. As long as he can avoid getting struck, he should be okay. So, using the mana hand that is hooked to the ground, he yanks his body in a speedy motion, allowing him to get behind Kai right when his ability cooldown is activated. In this vital moment, despite being many levels above than Rei, Kai is vulnerable due to the technique he used. It's because of that, in that brief window, he is vulnerable. So our boy hits him with the good old catch these hands attack, rocking the arrogant king's worldview and sending him crashing into the ground. Rei is genuinely the GOAT for actually being smart about the way he fights. I'm impressed. Here's the icing on the cake. Now he's acquired Kai's overclock technique as well. With that skill in Rei's inventory, this battle is decided. But Kai isn't quite done, cursing his brother as he gets up again. Our boy's a little frightened because this mad magician is truly trying to kill him here and now for hitting a clean hit on him. And so that's what he does, coding his purple magic inside the icicle lance and activating his true skill, the demon lance. Seeing that skill activated, Rei is terrified because it's Kai's best skill in his inventory. The problem is he didn't expect his brother to already know about this skill so early on in his life. Kai launches his demonic lance towards his brother, who is barely able to evade it. The sheer speed and power of his demonic lance is causing a lot of issues for Rei. Not to add that this bastard can manufacture more demonic lances at will. The only reason Rei had been able to land a clean hit up until now is merely because his opponent took him lightly and was playing around. But even he knows that the Purple King's might is fearsome when he gets serious. The demonic lances continue to target down their prey. Rei is barely hanging on as he evades each lance, knowing that he's getting outclassed with the way things are going. With his back striking the wall, it appears like the end for him. The Purple King has him just where he wanted, and he's got enough mana to finish him off. Doing the best he can in this moment, Rei retaliates with his flaming lance strike. Kai definitely throws another demonic lance in his way, causing a big explosion with both lances crashing with each other. The impact sends Rei crashing into the arena's wall and leaving a crater. He's practically standing on his last limb while Kai talks him down, reminding his brother why he's known as the Purple King and why he's hailed as one of the strongest magicians ever. And it's not like he is spreading lies. Even Rei knows all too well about his brother's powers. Meanwhile, Kai insults him for behaving like a big shot with a few skills in his arsenal. But thanks to that, Ray achieves a stunning revelation. Though he can't match his sibling with raw production or skills, he can do something else. He may perhaps wield the true power of the purple skill. After all, thus far he'd only been synthesizing 2 colors owing to his limited mana capacity, stopping him from unleashing his true power. So that's what he does. This dude literally triggers the overclock process and looks gorgeous as heck while doing it. In return, his brother is shocked that he can also apply the same strategy as his own. With this, he's already increased his usage of mana, and based on his observation, he has unlocked an improved version of skill synthesis. A version that no one possesses, and it's called Talent Synthesis Black. This is just the trump card he needed. Ray confidently smiles, causing Kai some serious amount of concern, knowing that he's just increased his mana capacity. Our youngster absorbs the energy in his hand, pondering how no one in the world had initiated a tricolored synthesis before. By fusing the red fireball skill with the ice needle blue skill, and eventually perfecting it with his enhanced yellow skill, Ray unleashes a purplish-black ability. Ability that is black in nature, a hue that not even Kai has met before. To comprehend this deeply, we learn that mana is formed of blue, red, and yellow energy, and at some point, he was so weak that he couldn't harvest the power of any one of these colors. But his own analysis was faulty. His physique was special in a sense that it could ingest all 3 types of mana. The previously weak and colorless wizard now stands steadfast with the might of a dark mage, and he's ready to end Kai's career with his next attack. With the pairing of the primary 3 colors creates an altogether new skill, the ultimate skill called Black Skill Synthesis. Black is also the upgraded form of the normal synthesis skill, and this culminates in the formation of an ability known as the Abyss Flame. Ray reflects that he's already done his task of consuming the mana, and publicly identifies himself as the Black Magician. As for his brother, he's starting to sweat bullets out here, and utilizes his projectile ability to block his brother from evolving any further. The purple lance is aiming right at his head, but Ray is no longer threatened, and totally engulfs the strike with his dark magic. The very sight of Ray's protection is frightening to Kai, because now his opponent was charging at him with an attack of his own. The Purple King finds himself cornered, so he releases a massive projectile in the hopes of defeating the black spherical magic ball inside Ray's palm. The Black Wizard pulls back, and eventually releases the Wrath of the Abyss Flame skill, an attack that fights against Kai's extremely massive Purple Lance ability. The fight lasts for only a second, until eventually Kai's skill is overwhelmed, and his confidence shatters when the attack truly connects with him, ending in a deafening purple explosion. When the dust settles, Ray is the only one remaining, his body tired from the stress of the combat and the overwhelm of wielding his new power. But the outcome is no different. The fight concludes with Kai's comatose body hitting the floor and him sleeping like a log. Ray can't believe what he just did. He had finally defeated his brother, even if it was a weaker version of him from the past. Suddenly, the system screen flashes forth and tells the Dark Magician of his new skill acquisition. The Abyss Flame was officially a part of his inventory, which alone signifies Ray has reached a new level of power. With the combat ended, the Proctor Hinata is seen hurriedly racing inside, checking up on Ray's condition. It's quite funny to me that she's not worrying about the person that's potentially dead, but our boy instead. Ray sends her the good signal that he's doing okay. Now Hinata did watch the showdown between the two of them, and she's just as bewildered about the skill, of course. At this point, even our boy is starting to grasp that he can't carry on disguising his powers forever, as that would be impossible. Showcasing a peek of his dark talents, he adds that it is intended to be some type of a black skill. Witnessing the motes and specks of black encircling his body, Hinata's eyes widened, recognizing that he's the one and only person in the entire world to have such a unique gift. Since this is officially out now, Ray wants to know if he should publicly disclose to the association about his special skill, because he'd much like that this subject is kept a secret and doesn't make a commotion in the world. Hinata's a bit astonished by his attitude, going as far as to inform him that he might be stomping over an opportunity of a lifetime over here. Our youngster doesn't comprehend it, but the proctor enlightened him by explaining that each strongest representation of their hue is truly bestowed the title of king. This is shown by Kai being the Purple King, as he's the strongest in that category. Hinata expresses that since he's the only black magician in the entire globe, they might officially designate him as the Black King right off the bat. Now that is one crazy-ass name, but you didn't hear that from me. For a second, he ponders the options. It's still unaligned with his personal objectives, so he effectively declines the spotlight for now. There's also the matter of his level being extremely low compared to other kings, which could be a problem. Changing topics, Ray focuses his attention to the sleeping young man and requests Hinata to go and check on the guy's condition. But the proctor isn't even bothered a bit, assuming that he will recover like all monarchs do, as they have a strong healing factor. she intends to bring him into the medical ward. Suddenly, both of their phones ring at the same time, getting an ominous message. When Ray checks the message, he learns of an urgent warning of an appearance of a perilous dungeon, with a minimum level recommendation of. Hinata's surprised, but our lad is straight up scared. The terrifying Ikabukuro dungeon is here at last, and though the suggested level is, the present kings are still at level or greater at this point in time. In the old chronology, in the very first week, all of the monarchs despairingly found exactly how feeble they truly were. That's actually one of the reasons that the Ikabukuro dungeon is unique in being left abandoned for a while. But that's exactly what resulted at the commencement of a horrific tragedy, when scary beasts of crimson began emerging out of the dungeon. This condition is known as a dungeon collapse, which unsurprisingly occurs when a dungeon isn't completed in a set duration after its emergence. Of all, even as early as this stage of the novel, they had absolutely no knowledge that something like a dungeon collapse might occur. They had no knowledge that a dungeon is dependent on a time limit and that monsters teemed outside of it if left alone. The Ikabukuro dungeon became the first of its sort, recognized as the first dungeon collapse and break in the original timeline, and resulted in a ton of victims. Tokyo was entirely consumed with roaring high-level monsters and left a sea of blood in their wake as only a few people got it out alive. But this time, Ray is determined to stop this horrific catastrophe from occurring again, because he proclaims a personal responsibility to stop the dungeon collapse. The Black Mage declares to Hinata that he'll independently conquer the dungeon, a remark that comes off as worrying to the proctor, who believes it's way too perilous, even with his skills considered. Then there's the fact that only the A-rank mages are even able to visit the dungeon with a high recommendation level like this. Well, it's a good thing that he's got a bunch of time to kill until the dungeon collapse officially occurs. Knowing that the next A-rank evaluation exam was in a week's worth of time, Ray declares that he will soar to the top of the A-rank with his performance in the upcoming exam.